What if the road not taken isn't empty? We are raised on the linear assumption that when you make a choice, the option you didn't pick simply ceases to exist, vanishing like smoke into the ether of what could have been. But there is a terrifying and beautiful possibility, whispered about in the corridors of quantum mechanics and shouted from the mountaintops of ancient mysticism, that suggests the exact opposite. The moment you decide to turn left instead of right, the version of you that turned right doesn't disappear. It continues. It walks that other path, breathes that other air, and lives a life that is entirely real, just vibrating at a frequency you can no longer see. The you that took the job in the other city, the you that stayed in that relationship, the you that took the risk you were too afraid to take, they are all out there, right now, layered on top of this moment, like pages in a closed book. Modern physics calls this the many worlds interpretation. Ancient shamans called it the dreaming. But there is a specific phenomenon, a glitch in the matrix of your daily life, that suggests these parallel timelines aren't just hypothetical theories. They are bleeding into your current reality. You feel them when you experience a sudden, inexplicable wave of emotion that doesn't belong to you. You sense them in the haunting familiarity of a place you've never visited. We tend to think of our lives as a single arrow flying straight from birth to death. But what if your life is actually a tree, branching out infinitely with every microsecond, and your consciousness is just a flashlight illuminating one specific branch at a time? This brings us to a question that might keep you up at night, but in the best way possible. If all these versions of you exist simultaneously, living out every tragedy and every triumph you can imagine, is it possible to switch branches? And if the physics of choice is real, could the highest version of yourself, the one who has already achieved everything you dream of, be trying to contact you right now using a language we are only just beginning to decode? By the end of this journey, we won't just understand the mechanics of how reality splinters. We will look at the specific signs that you are drifting between timelines, and we will face the ultimate question of who is actually steering the ship of your life. Because if you are living infinite lives, the real mystery isn't which one is real. The mystery is, why did your consciousness choose this one? So let's step off the linear path and walk into the labyrinth. To understand how you might be living multiple lives at once, we have to dismantle the most stubborn illusion of the human experience, the solidity of choice. We treat choices like intersections on a highway. Once you turn, the other road is behind you, inaccessible, gone. But this view assumes that time is a straight line and that reality is a single solid stage where only one play can happen at a time. Imagine instead that reality is a radio. The radio station playing jazz doesn't stop broadcasting just because you tuned into the station playing rock. Both frequencies exist simultaneously in the same space right now in this room. Your radio, your brain and nervous system is simply a receiver that is biologically locked into decoding one signal at a time. The act of choosing isn't a creation process where you build a future from scratch. It is a selection process where you tune into a timeline that is already running. This sounds like a convenient metaphor until you look at what we've discovered in the subatomic world. In the bizarre landscape of quantum mechanics, particles don't just pick one path. There is a concept known as the superposition of states, where a particle exists in all possible configurations at once until it is observed. It is here and there and everywhere in between, all at the same time. Richard Feynman, one of the most brilliant minds in physics, developed a concept called the path integral formulation. Simplistically speaking, he proposed that for a particle to get from point A to point B, it doesn't just take one straight line. It takes every single possible path simultaneously. It takes the straight path, the curved path, the path that loops around the universe and comes back. The reality we see, the classical path, is just the sum, the weighted average of all those infinite possibilities interacting. Now, extend this from a single electron to the complex collection of atoms that makes up you. If the fundamental building blocks of your body are capable of traversing every possible path, why do we assume our macro lives are stuck on a single rail? The what-if game we play in our heads, wondering what would have happened if we'd said, "I love you" or "I quit," might not be an exercise in imagination. It might be a momentary shift in focus toward a valid existing path that a part of your energy is actually traveling. This rewrites the definition of destiny. Destiny isn't a pre-written script you are forced to act out. Destiny is a choose-your-own-adventure book, where every page is written at once, and you are the reader deciding which page to turn to. Every decision, from the monumental to the mundane, like which shirt to wear this morning or which route to drive to work, fractures reality. It creates a splinter, a divergence. In one timeline, you drank coffee and had a productive morning. In another, you spilled that coffee, ruined your shirt, missed your meeting, and that led to a chain reaction that altered your career. Both realities are equally valid. Both contain a consciousness that thinks it is the real you. This concept, often called the multiverse of you, suggests that you are not a solo artist performing on a stage. You are a choir. You are a vast, multi-dimensional entity stretching across time and space, experiencing every variation of existence. But here is where the premise gets truly fascinating. If we are separated from these other selves by nothing more than frequency and choice, are the walls between us solid, or are they porous? We often speak of intuition, of gut feelings, of those inexplicable moments where you know something you shouldn't know. What if those aren't internal processes? What if they are echoes? What if the walls between your timelines are thin and sound is leaking through? This leads us directly into the practical heart of the mystery. We need to stop looking at parallel realities as science fiction and start looking at them as a mechanism of daily life. There are signs, subtle patterns in your everyday existence that suggest you are constantly navigating this branching tree, often without realizing it. Let's explore how to recognize when you are standing at a nexus point. If we accept the terrifying liberty that every choice births a new universe, the immediate question becomes, how do we navigate this? We are going to explore the mechanics of this navigation through distinct phenomena that you have likely felt but dismissed as coincidence or imagination. These are the leakage points, the places where the fabric of your singular reality thins enough to reveal the others. The first phenomenon, the echo of the unchosen. Let's begin with the sensation we call déjà vu. The conventional explanation is a misfire in the brain's memory processing, a short circuit where the present moment gets filed into long-term memory instantly. But there is a more esoteric view that aligns eerily well with the many worlds theory. Think of déjà vu not as a brain error, but as a momentary synchronization of timelines. Imagine two radio stations briefly playing the exact same song at the exact same second. For that fleeting moment, the separation between the stations collapses. When you feel that uncanny sensation that, I have been here before, it might be because another version of you is there or has been there. You are feeling the resonance of a parallel self who made the same choice, walked into the same room, and felt the same sunlight hitting their face. This goes beyond just the feeling of familiarity. Have you ever had a sudden, inexplicable urge to avoid a certain street, or a sudden wave of dread about a decision that seems logically safe? We call this intuition. But consider the Feynman path integral again. If your consciousness is exploring all paths, perhaps the version of you in a parallel timeline who took that street and got into an accident is sending a shockwave back through the network. The dread you feel is the echo of their trauma. You are not predicting the future. You are receiving a distress signal from a version of you that already lived the mistake. This recontextualizes our relationship with regret. We usually view regret as a useless emotion, a sadness over something that didn't happen. But in a multiverse, it did happen. The intensity of your regret might actually be the emotional weight of that other reality pressing against yours. It's a ghost ship sailing alongside your current vessel. The lesson here is profound. Listen to these echoes. They are data. They are reconnaissance reports from the front lines of your other lives. The second phenomenon, the vibrational alignment. If all timelines exist simultaneously, how do we choose which one to experience? Why are you experiencing this struggle and not that triumph? The answer lies in the concept of vibrational alignment. This is often hijacked by superficial law of attraction marketing, so let's strip it back to its metaphysical and mechanical roots. Everything in the universe, from atoms to galaxies, has a resonant frequency. Your consciousness is no different. It has a signature composed of your beliefs, your emotional baseline, and your expectations. You are not creating your reality, you are filtering it. Imagine a dark room filled with objects of every color. You are holding a flashlight that emits only red light. When you shine it around, you will only see red objects. The blue and green objects are there, right next to you, but they are invisible to your perception because your light source, your frequency, doesn't interact with them. Manifestation in the context of parallel realities is not about forcing the universe to build you a castle. It is about changing the color of your flashlight. The timeline where you are living your highest purpose, where you are abundant and at peace, already exists. It is fully rendered, it is physically real, but if your internal frequency is tuned to lack or fear, you physically cannot perceive that timeline. You will walk right past the opportunities that lead to it because you are blind to them. This creates a practical imperative. To shift timelines, you must shift your state before the external reality changes. You have to tune the radio to 101.5 FM to hear the music. You cannot wait for the music to start playing before you turn the dial. This is the hardest work of all, maintaining a frequency of gratitude or abundance while your current 3D reality still looks like struggle. But this delusional faith is exactly the mechanism that bridges the gap between timelines. The third phenomenon, the physics of the fork. Let's look at the mechanics of the fork in the road. Every day you face thousands of micro-choices. Most are unconscious. You put on your left shoe first, you drink coffee, you scroll your phone. These automatic behaviors keep you locked in your current momentum. They are the grooves in the record that keep the needle playing the same song. To jump tracks, you need to introduce a disruption. The ancient Toltec sorcerers called this breaking the pattern. When you do something new, when you take a different route to work, when you react with silence instead of anger, when you wake up an hour early, you are creating a new bifurcation point. You are stepping off the well-worn path of probability and entering the realm of possibility. This is why getting out of your comfort zone is such common advice, yet so rarely understood deeply. It's not just about building character, it's about data points. If you do what you've always done, you will remain in the timeline you've always occupied. To access a new version of yourself, you must perform the actions that the new version of you would perform. This is the concept of acting as if. It's not faking it. It's a method of calibration. If you want to shift to a timeline where you are a disciplined writer, you don't wait for inspiration. You write. The action anchors you into that reality. Every conscious choice is a voting slip. When you choose the salad over the pizza, you aren't just eating nutrients. You are voting for the timeline where you are healthy. When you choose patience over rage, you are voting for the timeline where you are wise. Over time, these votes accumulate, and the probability curve shifts. You physically slide into a different parallel world. The fourth phenomenon, the observation effect. Quantum physics teaches us that the observer cannot be separated from the observed. The way you look at something changes what it is. In the famous double-slit experiment, particles behaved like waves until they were observed, at which point they collapsed into particles. This suggests that your attention is the glue that holds your reality together. In your daily life, your attention is the steering wheel of your timeline. Where are you looking? If you are constantly obsessing over past failures, you are energizing the timeline where you are a failure. You are collapsing the wave function into a reality of regret. If you focus on the potential for growth, you collapse the wave function into a reality of opportunity. This is why the news cycle and social media doom scrolling are so dangerous to your spiritual trajectory. They are designed to lock your attention, and thus your reality, into a timeline of fear and powerlessness. They hijack your observation. To reclaim your timeline, you must reclaim your attention. You must become a conscious observer of your own life, choosing where to direct the beam of your consciousness with surgical precision. This brings us to a specific practice, the revision. Mystic Neville Goddard spoke of this, and it aligns perfectly with the idea of fluid timelines. At the end of the day, review the events that didn't go as you wished. In your mind's eye, rewrite them. Imagine the conversation went well. Imagine you received the good news. Feel the relief of that outcome. Skeptics call this delusion. But in a multiverse, you are simply shifting your attention from the timeline where you failed to the timeline where you succeeded. By impressing this new memory into your subconscious, you are tuning your receiver to the frequency of that better outcome. You are telling your brain, this is who I am. And since the brain creates reality based on its internal map, you effectively begin to steer the ship toward that preferred parallel existence. The fifth phenomenon, the decision tree visualization. Let's ground this with a final visualization tool. Imagine your life as a massive, sprawling oak tree. You are currently standing on one specific leaf. Looking back, you can see the branch that led you here, your past. Looking forward, you see the air, empty space. But the tree model tells us that there are other leaves next to you. Some are very close, almost identical lives, perhaps differing only by what you had for breakfast. Others are on the other side of the tree, lives where you live in a different country, speak a different language, are a different person entirely. The further the branch is from you, the more energy it takes to jump there. You cannot quantum leap from destitute to billionaire in a single second because the vibrational distance is too vast. It's a discontinuity. But you can jump to the branch next to you, the one where you are just slightly more disciplined. From there you can jump to the next. This is the secret of the highest timeline. It is not a destination you teleport to. It is a path you walk, branch by branch, choice by choice. The you at the top of the canopy, the highest self, is calling to you. How? Through excitement, through passion, through that quiet inner knowing that says, go this way. Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss. Maybe bliss isn't just an emotion. Maybe bliss is the signal strength bar on your phone increasing as you get closer to the tower. When you feel genuine excitement, you are picking up the signal of your highest timeline. You are resonating with the version of you that has already made it. The twist of the soul now, we must ascend to the view from the mountaintop. If infinite versions of you exist, and if you can navigate between them, we run into a paradox that threatens to shatter the concept of identity itself. Who is the you that is doing the navigating? If there is a rich you and a poor you, a happy you and a sad you, a living you and a dying you, then you cannot be defined by any of those adjectives. You are not your circumstances. You are not your history. You are not even your personality, as that too changes across timelines. The only thing that remains constant across every single branch of the infinite tree is the observer, the witness, the pure point of consciousness that is looking through the eyes of the avatar. This suggests that you are not the character in the movie. You are the player holding the controller, or perhaps you are the screen on which the movie is projected. This is the ultimate liberation. We spend so much of our lives terrified of making the wrong choice, paralyzed by the fear that we will ruin our lives. But if every choice is made somewhere, and if the observer is indestructible, then there is no such thing as a wrong choice. There are only different experiences. There are only different curricula for the soul to learn from. The highest timeline isn't the one where you are richest or most famous. It is the timeline where you are most awake. It is the timeline where the avatar and the player are in perfect sync, where the mask becomes transparent and the light of consciousness shines through without obstruction. The responsibility of the creator. However, this freedom comes with a staggering responsibility. If you are constantly selecting your reality through your focus, your choices, and your frequency, then you are the architect of your world. You can no longer blame fate, or bad luck, or the government, or your parents. Those elements exist, yes, but the version of them you are interacting with is determined by you. You are constantly curating your reality. If you hold on to bitterness, you are chaining yourself to a timeline where you are a victim. If you cultivate forgiveness, you are stepping onto a timeline where you are free. This shifts the weight of existence onto your shoulders, but it also gives you the strength to carry it. You are not a leaf blowing in the wind. You are the wind. You are the tree. You are the sky the tree grows in. Every moment is a nexus point. Every breath is a reset button. You can shift right now. Think of the highest version of yourself not as a stranger, but as a future memory. They are you, 5 years from now. Looking back at this moment right now as the turning point, they are cheering you on. They are sending you the intuition, the coincidences, the gut feelings, urging you to put down the distraction and pick up the dream. They are whispering, come this way, the view is beautiful. The final question. As we stand here contemplating the dizzying array of paths that stretch out before us, we realize that the goal isn't to control everything. The multiverse is too complex for the human intellect to micromanage. The goal is to trust the signal. We are learning to surf the waves of probability. We fall, we get trashed by the waves, we drift into timelines of shadow and confusion. But the board is always there. The ocean is always there. And the ability to choose a new wave is always there. The Gnostic Gospels speak of waking up from the dream of the world. Perhaps the dream is the idea that we are singular, separate, and small. Perhaps waking up is realizing that we are multidimensional beings, playing a game of hide and seek with ourselves across eternity. So here is the question I leave you with, the one that might just change the trajectory of your next choice. If you knew, with absolute certainty, that a version of you has already succeeded, that the path is already paved, and that your only job is to align with the frequency of that success, what would you do differently today? What fear would you drop? What bold step would you take? Because somewhere, in a frequency just a hair's breadth away from this one, you already took that step, and you are waiting for yourself to catch up. If you enjoyed this journey into the labyrinth of reality, consider subscribing. We are hunting for the keys to the universe, one mystery at a time. The timelines are infinite, but I'm glad our paths crossed in this one. The hunt continues.